5 years ago, two legendary climbers faced a catastrophe on K2 that shattered more than records. It destroyed a brotherhood. Now, as storm clouds gather over Devil's Tooth Mountain, one climber lies trapped on its merciless face, his only hope of survival. The friend he betrayed, the partner he lost, the brother he can't forgive. But when the mountain demands its price, will pride cost more than a life? The mountain face loomed before Marcus Chen like a fortress wall, its jagged edges catching the golden light of dawn. His hands trembled as he double-checked his climbing gear, each metallic click echoing against the rock face. Somewhere above him, his former best friend and climbing partner, David Harrison, was already making his ascent. 5 years. 5 years since that fateful expedition on K2 that had torn their legendary partnership apart. The climbing community still whispered about it. How David had pushed for the summit despite Marcus's warnings about the weather. How 3 members of their expedition had nearly died. How Marcus had publicly blamed David for the disaster. The morning air bit at Marcus's exposed skin as he began his climb. The rock was cold and unyielding beneath his fingers, each handhold a small victory against gravity. He tried to focus on his breathing, on the rhythm of the ascent, but his mind kept drifting to the headlines that had brought him here. Harrison attempts solo first ascent of Devil's Tooth. The reports had mentioned deteriorating weather conditions, a storm system moving in faster than expected, and David, stubborn as ever, refusing to abort his climb, just like K2. A gust of wind whipped around the mountain face, carrying with it the first hints of the approaching storm. Dark clouds gathered on the horizon like spectators at a gladiatorial arena. Marcus quickened his pace, his muscles burning with effort. 200 feet up, he spotted the first signs of trouble. A piece of orange fabric fluttering from a protruding rock. David's tent, or what remained of it. The wind must have shredded it during the night. Marcus's heart pounded against his ribs as he scanned the cliff face above. There, a flash of red. David's jacket. Marcus traversed horizontally across the rock face, fighting against the increasingly violent wind. As he drew closer, he could see David wedged in a narrow crevice, his leg bent at an unnatural angle. Their eyes met across the void. "I told them not to call anyone," David shouted over the wind, his face a mask of pain and pride. Marcus secured his position before responding. "Yeah, well, you told them a lot of things on K2 too." Lightning split the sky, followed almost immediately by a deafening crack of thunder. The storm was nearly upon them. David's face hardened. "I don't need your help, Chen, or your lectures." A memory flashed through Marcus's mind. Them as teenagers, practicing knots in David's garage, dreaming of climbing the world's greatest peaks, before sponsors and fame, before ego. Maybe not. Marcus called back, already calculating the rescue route. But you've got both. The first drops of rain began to fall as Marcus maneuvered closer. Each movement was a negotiation with death, the wet rock becoming treacherous beneath his fingers. David watched in tense silence as Marcus rigged an anchor system. "Why?" David finally asked as Marcus began splinting his leg. "After everything." Thunder answered before Marcus could. And then the sky opened up in earnest. They had minutes, maybe less, before the rock face became a waterfall. Because 5 years ago, I was wrong too, Marcus shouted over the storm. I blamed you entirely for a decision we made together, and I've been carrying that weight longer than I've been carrying my gear. The descent was a blur of rain and adrenaline. Twice they nearly fell. 3 times their ropes caught on outcroppings. But they moved as one unit, just like they had for 15 years before K2. When they finally reached the ground, both men were shaking from exhaustion and cold. In the safety of the rescue tent, as medics worked on David's leg, the 2 men sat in silence. Finally, David spoke, his voice rough with emotion. I'm sorry about K2. I should have listened. Marcus met his gaze. I'm sorry, I couldn't forgive you sooner. The storm raged outside, but inside the tent, something long frozen began to thaw. Today, Marcus and David run one of the most successful mountaineering schools in Colorado. Their students often ask about the massive photograph hanging in the main hall. 2 tiny figures on a rain-lashed cliff face, connected by a single rope. It's a reminder, they tell their students, that pride can separate us faster than any mountain, but forgiveness can bridge even the widest chasms. What rifts in your life need mending? What mountains of pride stand between you and reconciliation? Perhaps the most challenging climb isn't up a rock face, but over your own walls of resentment. As Proverbs 17:17 reminds us, love prospers when a fault is forgiven, but dwelling on it separates even the closest of friends. Sometimes, the greatest act of courage isn't saving someone else. It's being willing to take the first step toward reconciliation. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and click that subscribe button for more of our moral stories. Redeem the like button so YouTube can show this story to more people. Together, let's inspire others to choose forgiveness over pride.